Hi guys, it is Matt giving you the message for tonight here at Awana. Sorry I can't be in the room with you right now, but I figure a video would be okay. As you can see, I'm outside, and I was told the theme of the message was to be about how God is just, or like what makes him just, or why is God just, things like that. And we can kind of see that based in Deuteronomy 32:4, where it says he's the rock. His deeds are perfect, and everything he does is just and fair. He's a faithful God who does no wrong, but just and upright he is. So, what kind of makes God just? Well, that's a good question. One thing is that since God made everything, he kind of gets to decide what is just, and what is right, and what is good. And as you can see, I'm standing in my backyard, and you can see all the greenery, and the grass, and the trees. That's all stuff that God had made. There's big trees up there. And because God makes all that stuff, he can decide what's right and what's wrong. And speaking of some stuff that's made, I have someone here that I help make. I have future Sparky Xavier and former Sparky, current TNTer, Joseph. Say hi, boys.
Hi!
All right. So I help make these guys. Hooray. So one thing that I get to do is I get to make the rules with them. And I like to think my rules are pretty just. And one of those things that I tell them to do sometimes is, okay, pick your ear. All right, now lay on the ground. Good job. You know, flop like a fish. Okay, now stand up.
Good. I'm getting wet.
All right, now tackle each other. So as you can see, since I'm in charge, I can decide what the rules are. And like I said, I like to think things are pretty just and things can go pretty well, normally. But God's a little better than that, isn't he? He doesn't just make silly rules for us. He doesn't just say, hey, go tackle your brother or something like that. No, he does a little bit better than that. What he actually does is he says, hey, because I love you, because I love the world that I created, not only are my rules just, not only am I just, I'm just for the right reasons. I can tell you what's right and what's wrong, like do not murder, do not kill, because that goes against what I believe. What he really is trying to tell us is that he set rules for us, and he set boundaries for us, and if we abide and live in those boundaries and rules, then we live a good life, and we live a healthy life and a loving life. Just like these two. So remember, God is in charge. God can make and do what he wants to do. And at the end of the day, his rules are just because he's good at what he does. He's good for us. He's good for everyone. And he's good to us. All right, guys.
Here we go. Oh.
Hold on. I want you to give each other a hug. I want you to say you love each other.
I love you. I love you.
And I want you to give Daddy a hug. So let's kind of explore that concept of what a just God does. What makes God just? Well, in all honesty, it's his nature. It's his character. It's his being. God is just. The way we experience just, the way we see what just is, what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, it's based off of God's nature and who God is. So, if God says he doesn't want us to steal, he doesn't want us to murder, he doesn't want us to hurt people, it's because that's what's in his nature. And if God tells us to show compassion and be loving and seek the right cause and do good things, it's because that's what God does and that's who God is. Just like love comes from God, so does just. It's within his fiber. It's who he is. There's no way around it. It's his nature. So God makes sure that the good things are good and the bad things are bad. Good deeds are good deeds, bad deeds are bad deeds. But God knows that people get confused with this concept. Sometimes we think good people can do bad things, or bad things happen to good people. How is that fair, right? Well, that's kind of when God's grace comes in and his mercy. You know, sinners like us don't deserve heaven because we've sinned and we've fallen away from God. But because God is just, he also knows that sin needs to be punished. And when sin is punished, then we're forgiven. And the way that works is when Jesus dies on the cross for us and we accept that. That is just. That is one of the most ultimate forms of just or justice, is when God sent his son Jesus to die for our sins. And Jesus laid down his life. And because of that, we can ask for forgiveness through Jesus and be accepted into God's loving arms and welcome into heaven one day. And that is just. Sin is punished, but we are saved. So, I hope that makes a lot of sense. You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.